Welcome back, everybody, to WCS America Round of 8 Season 3. We apologize that break took a little longer than expected, as we had a few minor issues with HyuN's PC, but hopefully everything is resolved now. Of course, Nate, I think as StarCraft players, we all know we want everything to be perfect, because we're all a little picky.
I mean, there's only so many things that we can tell ourselves we lost because of, but the last thing you want it to be is the computer, right?
Yeah, especially at a pro tournament, like that doesn't really work. It's like, well, yeah, like everybody's watching. I have to come up with something. It was the PC, guys, really.
It's not, yeah, exactly. It's much more difficult when you're playing in a live event. But as I said, we're just about ready to get into our second quarterfinal of the day. Keep in mind, we've got 2 more awesome matches coming up. Some Terran versus Protoss heat, baby. That's what's on the menu. Yep.
To all the Protoss fans, they have a very entertaining evening or afternoon, depends where you're watching from. We got a lot of tweets, by the way. I want to give a shout out to all the people that have been sending us tweets. Some watching from Austria and Europe, some watching from France, some people from Sweden, like you said. And somebody sent me a really adorable picture of her Akita watching me, which really made me melt.
Yeah,
it's very fluffy.
It's a very cute picture of a puppy. Yeah, that dog was.
I mean, it was a
adorable.
big puppy, but it's okay. Still puppy.
Still adorable, which is really all that matters.
Yeah, it made the downtime a lot more pleasant. It's like just sitting here for 3 minutes, like, oh, puppy, puppy's watching. Anyways, HuK is still in a really good mood as well, as he was joking around a little bit in the game lobby. He's like, shall I switch to 90% handicap, or is that not allowed in WCS? It's like, well, HuK, if you really want to, I'm pretty sure.
Have you ever played a game with the handicap on?
Yeah, it makes a pretty big difference.
It's pretty sick. Like you can actually just have all your units and buildings half health. Like, that's it. Yeah, no, like 90%, like you feel it. If you're clearly better than your opponent, you can make it happen. Yeah. Against HyuN, I don't think anybody can make it happen. No.
Like, how would you? I guess if you would be able to punish, let's say, like a gases opening with just stalkers, then it doesn't really matter how much health your units have, because they just kill stuff.
You pick a build that relies more on your control than how much health your units have.
But in a long game,
it wouldn't work with a 6 pool.
No.
They could actually just kill them with your workers, like 2 hits if you had 50% handicap.
Exactly. That's the moment where you just want to pull the probes and go for it. I see that HyuN is already on Battle.net. He should be joining the game lobby within a few seconds. Then we can finally start our second best of 3. Once more, we apologize for the inconvenience, but hopefully it will all be smooth sailing from now on. You already looked forward a little bit. The third series of the day is going to be a rematch of the Grand Finals of Season 2. Any of you guys were here for the Grand Finals of Season 2? All right, well, then they probably remember how awesome it was, Nate.
Yeah, that was, without a doubt, one of the coolest finals I've seen in a very long time. It's in my top finals for this year, because you just don't see the things that happen. You know, it's like, I've seen things, Roddy. that grand final. Carriers, Tempests. Oh boy.
Observers, Nate.
A lot of observers.
I'm not sure if we really want to go down that route again, but hopefully, you know, a couple of observers won't be bad, just to spice up the crowd a little bit, as they loved them so much back then. So you guys see, HuK is ready. He's browsing Twitter, so you guys can always send him some support. I think it's twitter.com/LaurenJChris. Whenever you tweet at LeChris, make sure to hashtag WCS as well. Yeah,
it's cool having all of you involved, of course. We love our awesome crowd in studio and all the awesome viewers online. So, I mean, the show is for you guys, right? Like,
yes.
We get to watch, we get to talk about the awesome games, but
I mean, this show's kind of for us as well, Nate. Let's be honest.
I enjoy having have such a close perspective to the games myself.
We just have like a front row tickets, but other than that, we're just fans too.
I mean, I just get to watch Heart and be like, man, if only I was half this good in my latter games.
Yep. Now, let's speculate a little bit about WCS rankings. So right now, the potential matchups at BlizzCon. This is something that we already went over earlier today. With Heart advancing, that means that right now there is still a good chance that it will be Zest versus Innovation, correct? In the round of 16. Because Heart doesn't really influence the rankings any part. If Heart wins the tournament, then nothing should change between Zest and Innovation. I think that is a big story. That
nothing from this side of the bracket changes anything anymore. Yeah. Because HyuN's #1, Heart can't get in top 16, and neither can HuK.
Yes.
So it's all about the bottom side now for the potential placement changes, and it changes as soon as I think from what I looked at, it changes as soon as Pulp. If Pulp beats Hero, then it's already starting to change things, because his points were quite high going into it. He's number 4 right now, last I checked.
So if Pulp beats Hero, does he overtake Zest already? I think he needs to go further than that, no?
Maybe Maybe if he makes it to the final is
Yeah.
what he needs, but I know he doesn't need to win it.
There are like 84 different scenarios to theorycraft over it, but we're going to keep a close eye on it throughout the entire tournament, and we will keep you guys confirmed, of course. Now, if Bolt loses, then that's where things get really interesting, as of course Hero could still potentially just make it to BlizzCon by himself. I'm not sure if he would overtake Innovation. He would probably be like ranked number 16, correct? Or does he go higher?
I know it. I mean, he'd obviously knock out Jaedong, but
Yes.
I don't know where he would end up.
So how do you think that Jaedong is watching this tournament? Do you think like, wow, one bullet dodged, 2 to go? Do you think Jaedong is like sitting at home, you know, like in Holland we have this tradition when everybody's watching the lottery, they're all like having a glass of champagne and they hope that they win the lottery on New Year's evening. Do you think that Jaedong is sitting at home with a bottle of champagne and like every single time that one of the players gets knocked out that he has a glass?
You know, I have to do now my Litard impression and say that if you are counting on Terrence to lose against Protoss, you have a bad luck. So Jaedong should be feeling pretty good looking at these, because both I say especially Polt. I mean, his Polt's Terran versus Protoss has kind of been one of his hallmarks with the Nexus sniping, and then Bomber. Well, Bomber's actually had a fantastic year.
Yeah, no, Bomber had a phenomenal year. I really did not think that Bomber was going to be as good and as successful in 2014 as he has been. That's been, I mean, of course, who am I to underestimate Bomber? I should know better. We've stayed with, or the guy stayed with us, I should say, actually. He took my bet for a month. But now we know what he's capable of, but he has still stepped it up. He has surprised me, and I can't wait to see Bomber in action later today. But for now, finally, all eyes will be on HyuN, of course, representing Rocket, going up against HuK, representing Evil Geniuses. It's a massive series for HuK. If he wins it, that would be the best tournament performance he has had in a very, very long time, and also the biggest payday.
Oh yeah, this is a very important tournament for HuK. A lot on the line, but he has to go through this monster in the top of Catalina, the Red Zerg player, #1 WCS worldwide. It's Rocket's HyuN.
I really like how it said Roachkin below his picture. I didn't see that before, but that's awesome.
Hey, man.
I'm curious to see what it will say for HuK. All right, over here on the right bottom side of the map, representing the Evil Geniuses himself, give it up for HuK. Apparently, HuK is not cool enough to have a special nickname.
Well, he's so cool, doesn't need one.
Of course, HuK is also the last remaining non-Korean in this tournament, so a little bit of additional pressure perhaps on his shoulders. But we know HuK, he loves his fans, but above all, he just wants to make himself proud. He's probably his biggest critic himself. He's never easily satisfied. I think even if he makes it to the semi-final and he loses, he will still be disappointed, which is like, no, HuK, that is amazing what you've just done. There's like one other Protoss that has done what you've done. That's not Korean. Yeah,
this has been HuK's season to impress, and against a player like HyuN, I've always liked HuK's Protoss versus Zerg. Personally, I think against the Terrans is where he's going to find the most resistance if he were to win this match. But what do you feel about this matchup in particular? Because HuK's not really the cheesiest Zerg out there.
Nope. I think it will all come down to what HuK scouts early on. Of course, shout out to Dirty GG as well, as he's tweeting in. You guys may remember him. He was the awesome community member that showed up at the Battlegrounds in Atlanta. He was rocking the American bandana. How to forget about him?
How could you forget about a man rocking a badass American flag bandana?
With sunglasses indoors. Then you know you're badass.
That is as American as it gets. HuK's gonna try to get HyuN a little bit uncomfortable. He's throwing down the pylon. Now we as observers can see that HuK doesn't even have Forge, so this isn't a cannon rush. But HyuN, he's not aware of that.
No, HyuN can't possibly know that yet, so he's sending 2 additional drones to the low ground. HuK is going to cancel his pylon. Of course, you don't want to lose the entire 100 minerals, but only losing 25 minerals and having 3 drones there that were not mining, it's probably worth it. HuK dropped the Nexus very quick, even before his cybernetic score, so despite the fact that his Nexus was a little later, it's still pretty quick and it's still a pretty economic build for HuK. Now, you already mentioned his PvZ a little bit. HuK is not really a Stargate player. I would say he does it once in a blue moon, but
yeah, he throws
it out. It's not really
his
his bread and butter.
Every now and again. I do wonder how he'll tune himself to this gas opening that HyuN has gone for. It's not quite the 3 hatchery build that we were talking about earlier, not quite the very greedy play that HyuN has been almost infamous for in a lot of his tournaments over the course of the last year. But where does he go with this? He's Zergling speeds on the way. It's just one drone mining. Is this just for map control or something else?
I think HuK right now is just going to take this into a 3-base style. We know that he's pretty comfortable going up to 3 bases as well. He loves running around with those big Blink Stalker armies, relying on force fields. He's always been good at that. HyuN's speed is going to be relatively quick. Now, it's not super quick because it was a hedge first, of course, but it's still a little quick. So HuK needs to make sure that he has a wall off in time, and I think he will. I also don't think that HyuN is going to produce a lot of Zerglings, but just in case. Oh, maybe Twilight into Dark Shrine?
I mean, it feels like with this position, it could be even a Stargate. Okay, Twilight. All right, Roddy. I guess the probe is still there. Dark Shrine or bust.
Yeah, I definitely think Dark Shrine. It really makes no sense if you want to go up to Blink Stalkers. Unless he would do the one build that he was talking on, Remax, the talk show of Desro, which he said that he truly doesn't like. You know, the build that CGNT's Hero used a couple of times. It's just like 2 base into super quick Blink Stalker. It's basically like very old school
proxy
logic.
Blink. It's like, well, I mean...
HuK is like, I really don't like that build. Maybe it was a meta play all along, and he was hoping that HyuN was watching.
It could also be the Arian build we saw on this map in Challenger if he goes for a Warp Prism on top of a Dark Shrine.
Yeah, something like that. But I think it's going to be a Dark Shrine. On Catalina, that's not the worst choice. This is a build that HuK has always used over the years. I still remember very old games where he played on Terminus SE, where he used Dark Shrine a couple of times in one of his DreamHack
We were
runs.
just talking about this too, right? The way that the map vetoes worked out, it's just really difficult to find anything. But this Overlord, he's a brave Overlord, Roddy.
He has ambitions.
He's got big dreams, and they may come true in the next minute here. He's gonna achieve them slowly.
It's important that this probe doesn't get spotted though. There are a couple of Zerglings running around, they're getting close to it, but they won't spot it just yet, because there's this one pylon there, but HuK would love to get a pylon a little closer. This Overlord, he isn't the fastest one, but eventually he is going to spot this. Now, of course, if he spots it by the time that the Dark Shrine is ready, it doesn't really matter that much anymore. HyuN is confused, by the way. You see he's getting burrows. So right now he's expecting massive 2-gate, 2-base.
Okay, there it is. So HyuN spots it. Now he knows. Immediately we should... Well, I guess the Lair's about to finish. He's going to start Spore Crawlers anyway. Just wants to make sure he has defense everywhere.
The most painful thing about this is not just the fact that this got scouted and that the Dark Shrine most likely won't do too much damage. These 4 Zealots might actually get something down. They might be able to work on this Spore Crawler. That means that he's going to have to wait for an Overseer. I like these. Where did these Zealots even come from, Nate?
And this is quite nice. HuK, he's got the Dark Templar coming in now as well. Splitting 2 into the natural. There's not many units there to actually defend. And with no Spore Crawler at the 3rd base, this DT can be, he's uncontested.
Yeah, the Mothership Core is going to help out a lot. It's a shame that HuK loses one of his Zealots there. It's really important that HuK keeps his units close together like he's doing right now. There's a lot of DPS in that Protoss army. Look at the Dark Templar going to town as well. One killing all of these Zerglings.
Oh man, these DTs are going ham. Well, he's cleans it up. He had to invest a lot of resources into producing the units necessary to defend this. HuK has 2 more Dark Templar that stepped back.
It's been okay for HuK though, because he's been probing up during all of this. He's going up to 3 bases as well. And let's not forget, HyuN made a lot of Zerglings. If he makes more Zerglings and he tries to kill the Twilight Console, that would be a huge blow to his economy.
HuK's ahead on workers right now. This is, I mean, it's never a bad place. You want to keep this 3rd lockdown. And look at this. These Dark Templar can just swat back these roaches. What are you going to do when you can't see what's killing you?
Yep. The only thing I'm a tiny bit worried about is that HuK doesn't have a robotics facility yet. Burrow did finish up, if I recall correctly. Yes, it did. So if HyuN would go crazy on the roaches and he would snipe that cannon that's protecting that base, then this could get very, very frustrating for HuK, because he doesn't have any other form of detection. He doesn't have oracles, he doesn't have observers, and roaches are very good. Roaches have traditionally been a very good follow-up after defending, quote-to-quote, against Dark Templars, but you can't really say that was truly defending, as he did take quite a bit of damage.
Yeah, it's also really interesting to see now that the robotics facility is coming out. It's very important that he defends. I love this.
Smart, very smart move.
He sent his DTs to the left side over to that Twilight Council.
But there should be an Overseer coming. Yeah. Oh, these Dark Templars might actually do quite a bit of damage, so this plan of HyuN is going to backfire. He needs a few more roaches now. HuK, of course, doesn't know what we know. He doesn't know that all of those roaches are out of position. Eventually, one of these DCs will get picked up.
This sucks for HuK, because you want to get Blink. That's what really makes these 3-base gateway plays so powerful.
That one roach is not a team player. That was me in high school, guys.
Say, hey, I could take it all by myself, but he doesn't need to kill the tech. He just needs to get that one pylon. And You see that Overlord's going to become an Overseer, which means defending it with a DT. Not an option. Immediately restarts the Twilight Council. Will not be able to build any more Dark Templars, not for a long time.
The only looking at the bright side of life, HuK did start its +2 already, so that will keep on going.
Oh, that is good, yeah.
Yeah, so he doesn't have to wait. Ooh, see Tunneling Claws being reduced as well. It's very important that that robotics facility finished up.
And he's getting a cannon too. He's getting cannons at his natural.
Yeah, I think
he already has them at the third.
Yeah, HuK has a pretty good read on this. He's like, all right, I'm kind of expecting Roach Madness over here. What was the nickname again at the start of the screen?
The Roach
King. That's right. But it seems like HuK has the pieces in the right place. It's going to be tricky regardless, because defending against Mass Roach is never easy, but HuK has the pieces in the right place now. If he doesn't mess up, if he keeps calm and steady and uses Photon Overcharge and drops good force fields, make sure that he covers both the natural and that base, I think he might make it out okay. And of course, Roaches are a very good unit, you know. I believe in a thing called Roach.
I know you believe in a thing called Roach, Roddy. 2 cannons and the Photon Overcharge Nexus is enough to defend. The Pylon's gonna kill it is annoying because he's used supply block a little bit. These Roaches try to go towards the natural expansion, but with 2 cannon sentries in place, all of these Roaches will die for HyuN.
Yeah, okay, this is okay. He leaves the Immortal behind. The Immortal, of course, will clean up. But this Nexus is taking a lot of damage, so it seems like this Roach Squad on the right side did just a little too much damage. I'm afraid that this Nexus will fall. Of course, at the cost of a lot of Roaches. Good force fields there by HuK. Tunneling Cross.
With no blink, chasing this army is very difficult. That's a fantastic snipe for HyuN.
You know, I know it feels uncomfortable right now, but if HuK would actually start attacking, I think that would be very difficult for HyuN to deal with, because he doesn't really have any additional tech yet. It's just still Roaches. Right now, we're only being 20 supply up against an army of a lot of sentries and 2 Immortals that normally won't cut it. But it's also okay for HuK to just defend. That was a small hiccup. I don't think he had to lose that Nexus, but if that's all that he's going to lose, then he will still be able to HuK just needs to be able to go up to like 165 supply with Blink Stalkers and Immortals.
He's gonna start shark his way through into the natural expansion.
These sentries are so exposed.
Going straight into the main base is HyuN, and he just doesn't have the firepower to kill them instantly.
I mean, he's losing a lot of Roaches. I'm not sure how many Roaches have died already. 46 Roaches have died already in this game, and a lot more will fall. Of course, HuK is taking quite a bit of economic damage over here, as HyuN just keeps on streaming Roaches across the map. Ooh, okay, this is going from bad to worse. Trying to hit that third
base again. There's a lot of Stalkers in position, though, this time around for HuK to defend the third, but Roaches behind the natural mineral line. Still a couple embedded into this main base, and somehow HyuN has actually made this Roach play against all the detection that HuK had. He's able to get in every little spot that was available.
Yeah, it's really frustrating. Once the Roaches are in the main base, it's really hard to keep track of it. There are more Roaches than there are Stalkers over here. Another Photon Overcharge will go down. HuK needs to send some reinforcements to this base. He's also not blinking these Stalkers away. Now he does, but not before losing 4 or 5 of them. Roaches will burrow for now. I actually think if they would have started working on the Nexus, they would have done a lot of damage. Supply-wise, HyuN is up 50. That's a lot, but let's not forget, there is no additional tech. It's just Roaches. If HuK is able to stabilize once, then he will find himself in an okay-ish position. He still has 51 probes to work with, so that's doable.
Yeah, he's still got Roaches in his main base, though, just popping in and out of that mineral line, picking off probes. And HuK's supplies, it's not quite where it needs to be to deal with this army anymore. The 4th hatchery being basically used as a macro hatch, and the Roach is just going to step right up. They can take this army head to head.
There's only a single Immortal in the mix over here. Tunneling Claws being used on the Roaches that were zoned out. Excellent play here by HyuN. Most of these Roaches getting nice and close. There were actually 2 Immortals, excuse me, but I don't think it's going to make the difference, as one of them will fall. The second one is going to fall as well. The sentries will fall. Of course, with the reinforcements, HuK will stabilize, but losing the Immortals, that really limits his ability to ever counterattack.
So he's finally gotten rid of all the Roaches in his main base. There's nothing else stuck in HuK's base, and HyuN did trade out quite a few Roaches. He's still just building Roaches. He's on 63 drones. Not a crazy economy, but still doing a little bit better than HuK right now.
Right now we're currently at a 10 Roach death per minute count, as 120 Roaches have died already, and in 7, that's pretty insane, not something you see every day. Again, HyuN is trying to spread HuK thin, and he's doing a pretty good job in doing so. Roaches sneaking into the natural, and above all, again going to town on this pretty exposed third base.
I mean, at this point, HuK, he just can't keep up with all the Roaches. HyuN is everywhere, really flexing that Roach King muscle, as we were talking about earlier. Kills the third, Roach is in the main base still, picking off probes, burrowing, moving in and out, still burrowed in the natural. His mothership core sitting over the army is like, well, I can't really do this on my own, guys.
Stalkers blink forward. Have to be careful. Oh, okay. Those are some sexy force fields, but unfortunately, there's still Thundering Claws. Well done, though, by HuK. He's just trying to make the best of the situation. But Army Supply right now. HyuN is doubling, and HyuN is going to go in for the kill. Immortals are great against Roaches, but if the Roaches are in this many, then it's going to get difficult, even if you have 3 Immortals in your army.
Yeah, HuK, not enough firepower. GG is called, and HyuN will take game number 1 here in our second quarterfinal. You know, Roddy, I gotta be honest, wow, 154 Roaches died that game. Yeesh.
That is ridiculous. 19-minute game, 154 Roaches.
Wow.
Do you think that's a higher Roach death per minute count than in that HuK versus Sen game on which one game?
Polar
Heavy
Knight.
Rain.
Oh, that was Poland. Okay. The both games that killed a lot of Roaches.
Yeah. Was it Polar Knight, the crazy Roach game?
I'm not.
I think it was Heavy Rain.
Anyway, it was a lot of Roaches.
Yeah.
It was like 9 Roaches per minute.
Yeah. Well, this is more than that. 154.
Yeah. Okay. I think we've hit new echelons of Roach death, and he won that game too.
Yes. Unfortunately, HuK did not. Things will look. I really think it went wrong with that first Nexus snipe. That was a very crucial, pivotal moment in the game. I felt HuK had an okay read on what was going on. He was setting himself up everywhere. He was getting defensive cannons in his natural because he knew, like, hey, I did quite a bit of economic damage. If I don't die against Roaches now, and like a mass Roach counter is one of the most traditional follow-ups against Dark Templar play, because, you know, Protoss, it takes a while before you have a lot of Immortals as well. And if you start losing that first Nexus and Roaches sneak into the natural, they sneak into the main, it's extremely difficult to stabilize.
I really feel losing that Twilight Council, not having Blink, hurt him so much because he's trying to catch these Roaches right now. But if you see, like, at this moment, Blink is only halfway done. If you can at least chase and kill these Roaches off, you're getting a little bit more. But there's so little maneuverability in that robotics facility-based army because you get just bullied around. And honestly, I would think that 2 cannons can be enough to slow that kind of attack down, but HyuN just did not care.
HuK just, on one moment, he slightly overcommitted to units in his natural, and he left his third base a little bit too exposed. And it's very difficult. I don't want to be too critical of HuK there because it's very difficult as a Protoss player. You don't have that much vision. Your observers are used defensively because you're trying to keep track of those Roaches, so you don't see where the Roaches are coming from. It's kind of like playing against medevac drops without having any map vision. It's very difficult not to be caught out of position. So it happened once or twice for HuK. Even though in the end maybe it looked one-sided, I really felt once or twice HuK was pretty close to stabilizing. And all that you need is one moment where you have 2 Immortals in each base and you have a couple of Sentries in each base and you have a few Blink Stalkers. And from that point on, you know, yeah, we all know that Roaches are good, but at a certain moment Roaches are not going to cut it anymore. But HyuN was just doing a phenomenal job in finding openings and making sure that he could actually still just make Roaches and live up to his name and do the unit.
And I mean, when you can win a game with just Roaches against someone who has 4 Immortals out on the map, you know you're doing something that seemed almost impossible with Roaches, but something good.
Yep. Our second map is going to be played on Merry-Go-Round, so that should be a fun map. Once more, it's going to be a 3-player map, but it's going to be a little smaller. So in general, a little easier, you would say, to defend against crazy Roach shenanigans. But of course, this map will most likely play out a little different.
Yeah, this is going to be a little bit interesting. Protosses don't generally like this too much, but we'll find out. As in the top right position, our Canadian hope, the last foreigner, he is Evil Genius's HuK.
And over here, on the 6 o'clock position of Merry-Go-Round, representing Team Rocket. He doesn't need WCS points, but he loves winning tournaments. Give it up for HyuN. 6,000 points. Jesus, Nate, that's a lot of points.
He's been stacking them up, man.
Imagine if he actually wins this tournament, he finishes like 2,000 points ahead of the number 2 finisher in WCS points. How ridiculous is that?
It's just crazy to think that right now we went into this and we're like, okay, PigBB gets first place, he can get in. If Hero gets first place, and you need something like, I think 16th place, Jaedong only has 3,200 points.
Yes.
HyuN's pretty much double him to be in first.
He's already, he pretty much doubled him already.
He has nothing. He hasn't had to worry about BlizzCon in months. It's crazy.
All right, so HuK is changing things up a little bit. Last game, he sold a fake cannon rush. He dropped the pylon, and HyuN kind of reacted to it. He sent 3 probes to the 3 drones, excuse me, to the low ground. But of course, we knew that HuK was actually going Nexus Gate into fast expand. This time, however, it's a 9 pylon into a 13 forge. HyuN is going to see this probe. This could just be another scouting probe, but it could be for real this time as well, Nate.
Yeah, and you know, when you
He
can
sends one more.
when you can keep a Zerg player guessing, that's what gives you the advantage. That forge against this hatch first play. There's a lot of things that could happen.
Is there a second probe on the way? Yes, there is a second probe on the way. Oh, no!
He's baiting the drones.
Okay, now HyuN knows that it's serious. If I was HyuN, I would say, oh my god, HyuN already sent like 6 or 7 extra drones. He is definitely not taking half measures over here. This is going to get really difficult for HuK to pull off. He needs to channel his inner Wiedemans and Galzi to make this one work.
Yeah, I mean, the drones kind of spend a little extra time chasing the probes, but the probe doesn't have enough hit points to do anything now, and there's no way these cannons finish. It's just not gonna work.
You know, he's in the house right now, but Mr. Bitter always used to say it's better to overreact than to underreact, and that's definitely true in this case. And HyuN showed that. Yeah, he put a few too many drones perhaps, but he made sure he never even had to worry about a crazy Sim City going down.
And now he's in a, I'd say, a very comfortable position.
Look at that Nexus, Nate. It's only 20% in. I'm not going to say that this game is over yet, because of course that's not true, but this is a very good start for HyuN. And being the experienced Zerg player that he is, he also knows that if you shut something like this down, Protoss, they have to drop their Nexus, then they have to drop their Gateway, they have to drop the Cybernetics Core. HyuN knows that he can build nothing but drones for the next 2.5 minutes in this game, and that is a glorious feeling if you play Zerg.
Yeah, even taking his 3rd hatchery. There's not really anything for HyuN to have any concern over. He doesn't even have any gas.
This really stinks. Actually, a couple of Zerglings running into the main base as well. The Overlord is even being a champ and soaking up a couple of the shots of the cannon. HuK not paying attention there. I think he could have killed one more Zergling. 2 would have sneaked by either way. But this is also this is like, it was already annoying and now it's very bad.
Yeah, this really puts HuK into a very compromising position for game 2.
This reminds me a little bit of the series that he played against Czech back then, where he lost game number 1, and in game number 2 in the start everything went wrong, but he still bounced back and won this series. And you know, he can afford to lose 2 maps and still bounce back, but things are looking a little dicey for a Canadian Protoss. This is really not a phenomenal start. Losing 3 probes as well.
When you consider the cannon rush didn't work, and then I think most players would agree, even losing a single probe, having to pull them to attack the Zerglings. That puts you behind. So nothing is really working out too well for HuK in this game, but I guess that's an interesting thing to bring up, though. He did bring back that other series in the round of 16.
Yeah, this looks even worse, though, if I recall correctly how that went. I know back then we were really impressed by HuK and that he showed a lot of mental strength after having a disastrous game 1 and having a horrible start in game 2, still pulling it through, and then winning game 3. That showed a lot of character, showed a lot of strength. But HyuN is such a strong Zerg. He doesn't really make a whole lot of mistakes in general. And as you guys can see on the production tab, like I predicted before, HyuN knows, and he even has extra vision now because of the Zergling. It's just nothing but drones.
He's going up to 48 workers. HuK.
This is 7 minutes in the 7 minutes into the game, and he's up 17 workers. That is massive. HuK is researching +1. I don't even know what is the best follow-up. I would just like do an uninspiring 7-gate +1, but that's me, Nate.
Well, +1's about a minute away. Takes a minute to build gateways, Roddy. Hashtag the dream.
I believe. Roads aren't halfway done. Circling speed is very late. The thing is, though, HyuN's economy is going to be so good. As long as his injects are on the money, he's going to have so much larva to work with. There are 4 extra gateways right now going down, so far it's like a 5-gate +1. Most likely this pylon is going to get spotted immediately, but HyuN needs to just make sure that he won't be supply blocked for a silly reason or something, and then he's able to produce roaches for days.
Yeah. Zergling speed, roaches, that's really all you need to hold off gateway attacks like this. So HuK goes to take a 3rd. Overlord immediately sees it.
Yeah.
And Roddy, as a Protoss player, I don't think it takes too much explaining to point out why Protosses don't like taking thirds on this map.
No, it's a little bit exposed, and also just look at the infrastructure that HuK is going for himself right now. He's working on 5 gateways with +1. Just now the Twilight Console's halfway done. HyuN can actually once more just do what he enjoys most in life. I guarantee you this is what he dreams about. Just make nothing but roaches and win games of competitive StarCraft 2. Because going mass roach now, Nate, is just an excellent decision. There is no robotics facility. There is nothing other than a bunch of sentries. Like if HyuN just makes only roaches, he's going to be in a great position.
Yeah, and you know, wasn't it on this map against Czech where he like had to make this defense of his exposed third base too? There's a lot of similarities, but HyuN he's a bit of a different beast than Czech.
He's slightly more experienced. HyuN is supply block though, so he's not able to produce a crazy amount of roaches that he normally could have. This is still a frustrating roach hit squad. Once again, the HuK only has gateway units to work with, and Stalkers without Blink or any of the other additional gateway units are just not very good against roaches. Roaches are pretty beefy. They're going to unpower the cannon as well. Another force field goes down, but it's wrong. It's misplaced.
Oh, is he just gonna go straight for the main base?
This is so bad.
HuK tried to pull some probes to lock the roaches on the ramp, but it's not enough. Moving his probes out of the main base now, just a mothership core to defend. As he brings the sentries up, is it going to cut it? More roaches and lings are streaming across the map outside of the natural.
Look at these sentries are going to be so bad as well, fighting straight up against the roaches. And like you said, more units streaming across the map. HyuN was even supply blocked, so this could have been worse, but I'm afraid that this is still pretty much game over. HyuN just all over game number 2, shutting the cannon rush down, and then also having the Zerglings in the main base. HuK knows this as well. GG is called, and HyuN takes a 2-0 lead. And I guess you can say so far, Nate, Korea 5, Canada 0.
Yeah, this has been a rough day for our Canadians so far. And once again, we have a Canadian on the ropes, down 0-2. Needs to win 3 maps in a row to move on to the semis. And against the #1 ranked player, that is not, I mean, that's just something that you don't expect to happen.
I don't think I can remember the last time that HyuN lost 3 maps in a row, actually. I'm sure it happened once or twice, because he plays in pretty much every single tournament, but it's going to get very, very difficult for HuK. The next map is going to be played on Deathwing. Now, it's a very large map, so maybe HuK can catch some momentum if he's able to punish some of the greed of HyuN. But in that last game, I just love, HyuN early on, he doesn't take half measures. He just pulls a ridiculous amount of drones, but it's the right thing to do. Those cannons will never go up. And yes, you lose a lot of mining time, but the nexus of the Protoss is going to be so late when they try to cannons rush you that you can completely justify that investment in a weird way, if losing money is ever an investment. Yeah. I guess if you go to Vegas, you can kind of see it like that.
Yeah, well, the thing is, right, if you can get your opponent to overextend and you're like, well, okay, hey, they tried to fake me out with the cannon rush on Catalina, there's no way he would try it again, so...
yeah, no, I understand the
now
thought process.
The thing is, Deadwing is such a different beast compared to the other 2 maps that we were looking at. Like, I don't know if it's fair to compare the viable strategies at all between those 2 maps, except maybe hiding something because it's still a big map.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see HyuN go double hatch before pool on this one. If there's one map where I think he's going to do it, it is Deathwing. Then you can also ask yourself, if you're HyuN, do you really have to go double hatch before pool? Do you think this is necessary? Is it mandatory for you to win this game to go double hatch before pool? The answer is probably not. So I think it would be stubborn if he does it. If he would do it though, I do believe that HuK has the skills to punish that in the proper way.
Yeah, it all comes down to how mentally in the game is HuK still. You're in a very difficult position. This is the most challenging spot you've basically been put in this year. You're as far as he's ever gone in a tournament in 2014. Now is the time. It's make or break, and he has to do it against this guy. Our Red Zerg player in the top right position. He has had a phenomenal year in StarCraft 2. He is Rocket's HyuN.
Over here on the left bottom side of that wing, I know there are a lot of fans of him in the house. He needs your support right now. Give it up for EG HuK.
Yeah, HuK has quite a ways to go. We've seen on this map, because of the size, you kind of say, well, aren't the greedy plays standard? But then you have things get interesting in other ways. HuK going straight for a 12 supply gateway. Maybe he is keeping his eyes open, as you said, Roddy, for that potential 3 hatchery before spawning pool build.
Yep, and I think if that is the build that HyuN is going for, then things are looking okay for HuK. I know that he's very experienced in punishing that. He has done it before. He has done it against some of the best Zerg players in the world. If I'm HyuN, there's just no way I would ever go double hatch before pool. If you just think about how those last 2 games played out, if you're up 2-0, do you really need to do that? Like, you can say like, if you're up 2-0, you can take a risk, but he's such a good, strong Zerg player that I don't think he really needs like that minor economic advantage early on. I think he's gonna do it though, but I think it's a little bit of a stubborn decision.
It's definitely not necessary. The drone's patrolling at the front, just chilling, and there it is. It's on that spot. I think we're gonna see it.
I think on paper this is starting to shape up okay for HuK. I've casted a lot of games from HuK over the last few months, and whenever he's able to identify that this is the build that he's playing against. Now there are still varieties in this opening, because some Zerg players do this while still take a pretty early gas. Now you could say that's a little bit counterproductive, because then you're sitting with all this larva that you can't spend, because if you spend like 4 drones on mining gas as well, of course 1 in the extracted 3, then you just can't spend all the money that you're getting anymore. So it makes almost no sense to go triple hatch before pool. He does drop the Nexus before the Cybercore. No, actually Cybercore is down already. Alright, if HuK scouts, he hasn't scouted yet, but if he scouts, I really think he's gonna drop 3 additional gateways and just go for it. Make a bunch of Zealots or Stalkers and just try to win.
It's something that we've seen work before, especially on big maps like this. You oftentimes, as a Zerg player, you expect, hey, I'm gonna do something greedy, my opponent will probably be greedy. And HuK has shown enough 3-base play in his games this year that you don't always assume he's going to play off 2 bases. So it can lead, you can sometimes get into a false sense of security when you're going up against.
This is even like a pseudo 2-base to speak, because yes, even though HuK has that Nexus, if HuK would turn off Fog of War, he wouldn't even use that Nexus anymore. He would just drop the gates and he would win this game with 4 gateways. Of course, the reasoning behind this is because Stalkers are quicker than slow Zerglings, and you can kite them into oblivion and you can just out macro him. HuK is going to scout this. He sees the hatchery. Now he's like, Alright, I might be able to work with this. 2 extra gateways going down in the front. And then normally...
He's chronoing on the cybernetics core.
Yeah, normally it's 2 in the front and 1 in the back, Nick.
Yeah, is he gonna do it? That's the real question. The probe was moving around. Oh! Roddy, you know a little bit too much about this sort of thing.
I don't know what to say with that. We're moving on, Nate. Okay, Zerglings are looking for this probe. And they will find it. That's really good news for HyuN. That's very unfortunate for HuK, but it doesn't mean that they have to abandon this. He can still just do it. He can even start off. He can send off another probe across the map and try to get another pylon down.
Yeah, the gateway is finishing up. Warp gate's just about to complete for HuK as well. Mothership core, these Zerglings can see it. He knows there's something a little bit fishy going on. I think the most important thing in this situation is that a pylon is still not done. So even though the warp gates are available, HuK can only warp units in his base at the moment.
That is really unfortunate, because it's so important that you get a pylon down on that side of the map. If HuK would have been able to do that, he really would have just been able to start the fun part of playing Protoss now, making units that the other race can't catch up with. That's when we all love being Protoss, but it seems like the moment that probe got spotted, HuK just gave up. HuK said like, alright, I don't want to commit to this anymore, because if it goes wrong, obviously then you're in a really bad position, because you open up with 4 gateways and you don't have a great economy. So I can understand that he perhaps got a little paranoid after the probe got found, but I really wish that he would have just gone with his instinct and would have gone all the way, because I think it would have played out very well for him.
It's a tough situation when you're trying to make the right calls versus somebody as scary of an opponent as HyuN. So 3rd base, it's still a nicely timed 3rd, but HyuN is all the economy that he could possibly ask for.
Yep, yeah, needless to say right now, like you have to love HyuN's position. It was still a double hatch before pool opening. He didn't take a gas, so it was a very economic opening. And all he had to do in the end was make a couple of slow Zerglings in the start. He found the probe, and he doesn't even know 100% sure, I guess, that HuK did open up the way that he did, and he didn't really realize that there was a potential pressure over there, or there was a lot of potential problems for him. But right now he made it through that stage of the game without any issues at all. And you kind of gotta love HyuN's position again, because just look at the production tab now, 12 drones at once being pushed out. That economy is going to be very good. Of course, HuK has a very reasonable economy to work with as well. He too will find himself on 3 bases in the near future, so it's not like he's out of it. It's just, it could have been so beautiful if you are Protoss.
Man. +1 ranged attack starts up for those roaches, which I'm sure we'll see in this this potential Final game for HyuN. He does love those roaches so much. Zergling's coming out now too. So what is HuK's play here? He's got a nice little force. I imagine you want to force out units and then maybe recall.
What? What? All right. I'm afraid that this is going to take a little while. As obviously something went wrong. I mean, a 3-base Protoss is pretty intimidating.
When I see a Protoss on 3-base, I do just leave the game. Let's be real, guys.
It is a scary sight knowing that all those gateway units will be wiped in eventually. But I guess we're just gonna have to rehost this. I'm not exactly sure what's going on. Seems like HyuN is not even aware of exactly what has happened. He was still in the game. He was totally feeling it. This will most likely take a couple of minutes, and of course we don't really want to spill anything as the players will most likely put off their headset. So I think best for us right now is just to throw it over to a very short temporary commercial break, and after that we will just resume with the game on that wing as how it was when we just left. Stay tuned. You're watching WCS America. We'll be right back. Alrighty, welcome back to WCS America Premier League Season 3, round of 8. We are in the second quarterfinal of the day. The score is currently 2-0 in favor of HyuN. We were in game number 3 on that wing until HyuN was super intimidated after he saw 3 gateways. going down at that third base. He's like, wow, 3 base Protoss with all those gates. I'm not sure if I can do this, but we talked him back into the game, and he's willing to try.
Yeah, he's gonna give it another shot. Of course, we realize he probably didn't really mean to leave right as HuK acquired his third base. He's in a pretty good spot after that opening from HuK. Didn't really accomplish much of anything, unfortunately for him. But he still has a chance in this series to bring it back.
Yep. HyuN in a very strong economic position, of course, that all that Larv had to work with because of this 3 hatcheries went completely uncontested. It was close. If that probe wouldn't be spotted, if that probe didn't get found, then I think we're looking at a completely different game. Then a pylon goes down, then HuK starts warping in units, whether it's Zealots or Stalkers. It's going to be pretty successful, especially if he brings the Mothership Core as well. Gives high ground vision on the ramp and stuff. Anyways, that's all done and done because that did not happen. HyuN just letting his spider senses tingling. We do call him Spider HyuN for a reason. And he finds stuff, Nate.
Yeah, he's done a really good job actually finding the probe. He found the pylon on the merry-go-round game.
He found the Twilight and the Dark Shrine.
Yeah, and Catalina. He finds
stuff. We have to check his PC, make sure that he has Fog of War turned on. Because otherwise, it would be kind of unfair.
I mean, considering that we could see it, it would be quite a...
It would be a user achievement if he has... Maybe he has, like, I don't know, lasered eyes that can see through the Fog of War and we can't see it.
That's some next level Zerg play. You thought burrowed units could see things.
Alrighty, we're 9 minutes into the game. Both players seem to be ready, and we can just resume this game on that wing, as I believe both players are ready. Yes, HyuN looks ready. Of course, very calm, very relaxing. It's a great position to be in, 2-0 in the quarterfinals, and you also know that game number 3 so far, you really didn't have too much to complain about.
Yeah, It's a good position for him, right? Either way, he could lose this game horribly somehow, and he'd still have a couple more maps to go. He'd only need to win 1 more to actually take the series.
And that's correct. The countdown is live, and we can just go ahead and hop back into the game as HuK is actually marching across the map. So HyuN needs to squeeze out quite a few units. He does have a couple of units to work with. He did go nuts on the drones though, actually. He's on 75 drones right now while HuK is marching across the map. Now, this is of course not the scariest army in the world. It's a bunch of sentries. Oh, those force fields are not fantastic, I think. A couple of sentries will get picked off. These Zerglings are nibbling away at these sentries, as Kalaris would say. But in the end, it turns out well for HuK.
Yeah, he does need to be careful. He doesn't have a lot of force fields left. He's on creep, and 30 Zerglings are about to finish, Roddy.
Yeah,
that Mothership Core, there's these youngins need to make sure they stay near their protector, otherwise, without that recall, they will all die horrible, painful deaths.
Yeah, recall as soon as possible, I would say. This is really not something that HuK wants to stay around too long. He's going to leave 1 sentry behind. That one missed the memo that he should have been closer to his friends. Overall, Nate, also not a successful push for HuK.
Whoa. HuK's getting
+1 air weapons.
Air armor. He's getting, that can't be. I mean, unless he wants to make his Mothership Core like the most buff Mothership Core we ever had, then I guess.
I'm also worried, Nate, because that was the type of push that you normally make if you want to force out some units. But that logic doesn't really apply anymore when the Zerg is already on 75 drones. Like, how many more drones does he truly want to make?
Yeah.
Unless it's a Swarmos game, you could say maybe he wants to go up to 90-something. But overall, there was another unsuccessful attack there for HuK. As he lost 3 sentries in the process, and he just didn't really get anything done.
Yeah, I'm really worried. The robotics phase just started, but Hydralisks are coming out. The Hydralisk speed upgrade is on the way. The range upgrade is already complete. So Gateway Army on its own doesn't really have too much staying power against a Hydralisk-based army, especially Hydraling. None of those anti-armor units are going to really do you any good in this situation. If HuK can hold on and secure this 4th base, get a Colossus or 2 out, he can get this game back into a manageable position, but even then, the Spire will be done.
Yeah, exactly. 18 Hydralisk looks like a huge investment, and obviously it's a little bit of investment. You know, he could also use the Spire for Corruptors. If HyuN wants to go old school, Hydralink Corruptor, it may sound far-fetched, but he could try to go for it. He has a little bit of pre-supply left. He has to make a few more Overlords. If he would make 7 Colossus or 7 Corruptors now, I actually think it would be very difficult for HuK to hold any sort of Hydralink attack, even with a Colossus or 2.
Yeah, you're right. This is... I mean, he still has another 30 seconds to go before his Colossus pops, and
he's
the
just
Hydralink army is here.
Yeah, he's just going ham on Hydralink, so he will most likely switch into Mutalisk later on, which of course is a more convenient decision, I guess. The force fields for HuK are going to have to be absolutely out of this world. the thing is, these Hydras have quite a bit of range, so even when you force feed them out, a lot of them are still shooting at the same time. HuK is losing a lot of Zealots, he's losing probes as well. He's zoning out a couple of these Hydras, Nate, but the supply, 175 still against 120. The cannons are helping out, though.
I actually like these cannons he has on the high ground by his
Colossus.
third base. The Colossus is out. Big Daddy Colossus is saying, get out of here. But, HyuN's chasing it. HuK cannot afford to lose this Colossus, but at the same time, his whole Gateway army getting cleaned up by the third.
HyuN is just setting himself up for the Muta switch, indeed. And there we have 8 Mutalisk on the way. HuK does have quite a few. HuK has +2 and Blink Stalkers already, and he has 5 Stalkers now. So needless to say, this is going to be a very difficult game for HuK, because HyuN is going to have all the map control in the world. He's going to have all the freedom in the world.
And a Contaminate on his robotics facility as well, delaying his next Colossus, so still keeping him a little bit on edge about defending on the ground. And with Zerglings still, and this many Hydralisks still on the map, like even switching into, even if you had Stargates, this army is still very strong versus that as well.
Yep. More cannons going down. I think HuK will be able to clean this up. Those force fields are excellent. He's going to get a couple of Hydralisks for free. Some of these Hydras just start working on the cannons or even on the Stalkers, because HyuN knows, of course, picking off Stalkers right now is awesome, because soon the Mutalisk will start flying in.
And here they are. Muta's hitting that third base. Immediately 5 Stalkers being warped in. The Colossi not terribly useful versus these. The Muta count hasn't reached egregious numbers just yet, but it's still powerful enough to fight against the low Stalker
This is
count.
actually an okay fight. I'm surprised that HyuN is just fighting with these Mutalisks. I don't agree with that decision. I think you should always try to save up at least till like 15 or 20 and then start going for mineral lines.
I think it's awesome that he still has this fourth base alive.
Yeah.
62 Zerglings on the production tab, and with 2 Colossi with +2 attack and only +1 Carapace, these Colossi are going to fry the Zerglings up like nothing.
Yep, but the biggest problem for HuK is that he knows he can't really leave his base. The moment that he's going to leave his base, he's going to lose every single probe, and he has to worry about 4 or 5 hatcheries. And I think HyuN is just too rich and has too much production right now to force a base trade. So HuK knows that he's going to have to defend for a while. But in theory, it's definitely doable. That was an excellent hold, and I was really surprised that HyuN showed his Mutalisk so early and that he lost a couple of them.
Fourth base under siege, Zerglings surrounding the Nexus, going for it, and the Mutas ready to catch. The Mothership Core will get picked off, probes evacuating, losing that fourth is a huge blow, as that economy is really what can allow HuK to constantly warp in Stalkers to trade with. Good force fields on the Zerglings, though. At least killing this is something.
Yep, he's going to get the majority of Zerglings. Mutalisk come back as well. I don't think they should be here. HuK can blink forward and maybe try to pick off a Mutalisk or so. Doesn't do it. Look at the supply. It's actually sort of close. Just the biggest problem is still HuK cannot attack. The moment he starts attacking, he will find himself in a very uncomfortable base trade. So he's going to have to hang in there for a while like a champ. Good blink there. Shouldn't lose too many workers.
Yeah, nice play. He does have a lot of probes. He'd love to get this fourth base back together. Probe is in position to rebuild it, but those Zerglings, man, they're going to be on the hunt. Mutas pull you one way, Zerglings pull you the other. In fact, he's going to try to just run straight in. The Colossi really shaving that Zergling count quite low. 2 minutes to slip into the natural, but these Mutas are still chewing away at the Stalkers.
Yeah, it is actually sort of an uncomfortable situation for these Stalkers to be in, because a lot of the Stalkers are not fighting at once and the Mutas flying in and out of range. There are 2 very, very happy Zerglings going to town on a couple of these probes. Overall, I just feel that HyuN is a master when it comes to situations like this. Also, it's something that we don't really see, but if you're a player, you definitely feel HuK has absolutely zero map vision. He doesn't see anything. He doesn't know where it's coming from. He just has to sit back and hope that he doesn't die. These Phoenixes are going to help out a lot, but he lost 17 workers. He still has 70 probes though, so it's okay. But the thing is just, HyuN has so much freedom.
I mean, HyuN at this point can pretty much do whatever he wants. He's been spending a ton of gas and Mutas. He's continuing to build them. I mean, HuK got a fleet beacon out. Yeah, he has the 2-3 Stargate production, which he can use to get out, I mean, a reasonable number of Phoenix, but at some point or another, you just won't have enough to actually stop your opponent from making another big switch into Hydras.
A lot of Zerglings just running by now as well. That is, what a great force field indeed.
But that third base will take in some heat. At the same time, the Phoenix trying to micro while the Colossi clean up all of the Lings. And I mean, this is about as good of a defense as you're going to see from HuK, but it's still hard to come out of this on top.
Yep, especially after losing the Phoenixes. It's really important that that Phoenix count goes up and not down. HuK again losing 20 probes, 22 even. And HyuN is just playing this very, very swarming. Like, he's playing Zerg like I guess it was meant to be played. You just try to keep overrunning your opponent with units. And HuK, like if he would have been able to get a Phoenix number up, let's say close to 8 or 10, then HyuN is going to have to be very careful about how he controls his Mutalisk as well. But every single time HuK gets 4 or 5 Phoenixes, he loses them to the Mutalisk. And that's really what's keeping him the most from coming back into this game.
Yeah, without that 4th base and now not enough, not quite too many probes anymore. These Phoenix have range, they can play ball, but there's not a lot of them to do anything with.
Like if he has 8 or 10 Phoenixes now, this
then
is
it's
completely
much more
different.
Manageable.
Yeah, exactly. Then HyuN actually has to worry as well. Now HyuN is just having the time of his life, pressing buttons and making a ridiculous amount of units. He's going to try to go for the run by again. And not a good force field there by HuK.
Oh man, these Colossi have an absurd number of kills between the two of them, but they're finally taken down, and that means the Zerglings can actually kill these Stalkers. The Mutalisk count is high enough to not really care about the Phoenix anymore.
The Phoenix is actually doing quite okay, and a lot of these meters are taking a little bit of damage, but so much economic damage has been dealt. It's just impossible for HuK to go up to 4 bases now. HyuN has just been macroing like an absolute monster in this game. Over 385 Zerglings have died already in this game. He just keeps making them. Finally, HuK has sort of stabilized against the Muta harass. Oh my god, 75 Mutalisk have died as well. And HyuN is just like, I will refuse to win this game by any other unit than the Mutalisk.
HuK is that a, did he make a mistake? Was he trying to build a Colossus? I see a carrier on the production tab. Not sure that's exactly what he wants to go for. The problem is, even though the Phoenix have cleaned the Mutas, I'm mostly surprised that HyuN is still just building Mutas. Like, despite how rich he is, he's just dumping all of his money straight into it.
He's doing it out of principle now. He's like, I started something and I'm going to finish it. I am not a quitter. My mother did not raise a quitter. I will win with Zerglings and Mutalisk.
Yeah, I mean, the +3 Colossus is wrecking face on the Lings. At some point or another, you got to realize, you're like, okay, what is going to actually finish this game for me?
I think he could still win it with, he's getting +2 missile attacks now. He's like, alright, I'll get a few Corruptors, you know what.
I mean, the Corruptors will be good against not only delaying the Phoenix and the Colossus, but also, you know, this lone hero carrier that's going to come out eventually. Yeah. Eventually.
What if this carrier just becomes like the ultimate flag holder and just holds down the fort, finishes the game with like 84 kills?
I don't know if there's any buffs for this carrier to pick up on this map, Roddy.
HuK is going to need the Interceptor upgrade as well. I think right now HuK realized that he built a carrier.
It's like, well, that happened.
He's like, okay, I got one.
Okay. He's building Interceptors now. I mean, it's actually, when you're on a low econ, carriers can be very...
Yeah.
It's a great way to lose your bank if you guys watched that last Carbot video. those bad boys don't come free.
Phoenixes start chipping away at these Corruptors. Of course, they actually don't have air upgrade. HuK still has that +1 armor as well. Let's not forget, does it, right?
No, he canceled it.
He canceled it. That's a shame. Imagine that carrier with +1 armor. Completely different game, Nate.
There's that Queen with the +2 armor is not really taking any heat from these Phoenix. Oh man, and these Corruptors and Mutas have +2 attack, so the upgrades for the Air Forces are strongly in favor of HyuN. He's maxed out. He's got money in the bank. HuK starts the 4th once again, but he actually has creep in between his 3rd and 4th. Like, there's creep in his 3rd base.
That's when you know that you've been on the back foot of the majority of this game. And you've been fighting an uphill battle. It's very impressive that HuK has not died yet, though. He's hanging in there, and as long as Protoss gets 165, 170 supply, you can pretty much fight against any amount of Zergling, Mutalisk, Corruptor, because by then you most likely have a lot of Phoenixes. You should have an Archon or 2 in the mix as well, maybe even Storm. And if he has Colossus against the Zerglings, or, you know, just the Archons as well, then, you know, it is manageable. But right now HuK's army is just not very strong yet, and it's above all not very large, and that is a massive problem.
In this army, if you have more of it, then sure. But at this time, like, the Phoenix won't stop the Corruptors from just clicking on the Colossus and the carrier.
The 8 or so sentries also not super useful against this very, very heavy air army. Here come the Corruptors. A couple of hallucinated Colossus being spawned as well. Look at that carrier, Nate.
He's doing work.
Look at the carrier.
He's got 0 kills as he tumbles down out of the sky.
Hey, he tried, Nate. A couple of Zerglings getting nice and close to the sentries as well, and like that, HyuN will win the 2nd quarterfinals of WCS America Season 3, round of 8. Well done by HyuN. Did not drop a mat. He looked very dominating in this series, Nate.
That's the play we expect from a world caliber player as HyuN, ranked #1 worldwide, and I mean, champion of WCS this season, actually this year for WCS America. he's been a very tough opponent for everybody to go up against, and that was also largely a case of just showing why he was so good, because many other Zergs would have died, and I'll go as far as say is have died to plays where HuK is able to get that pylon down or trick you and get the cannon or two up. That's where you start to build the edges as Protoss. But HyuN was always one step ahead of his opponent.
Yeah, PvZ is also very momentum-based matchup. You know, sometimes things just all your builds work out well. Everything goes the way that you have it in mind. Like if HuK's probe doesn't get spotted in that final game, I think we're looking at a different game.
Yeah.
Even game number 2, if HyuN doesn't like overly react to that cannon rush, maybe HuK is able to get a couple of cannons down. You're looking at a different game. You know, just 1 or 2 cannons and you get a cancel on that hatchery. It's a completely different ballgame. But it just seems like everything that HyuN was doing was correct. He responded to everything that HuK threw at him correctly. And again, it's a little similar to the first series of the day where Scarlet was in an okay-ish position on Overgrowth. Like that was a position he could have worked with if he didn't maybe, you know, get like 5 upgrades at once, like +1/+1, Bailing, Roach, +1 air weapons or air flyers, I should say. And I feel that game 1, Catalina was also the best position that HuK was in. It really looked like on a certain point he was down like 30-ish supply, and that's, you know, not a good sign, but against pure Roach, that is something that the Protoss you can work with. And I think if you put HuK in that position again, and you let him practice it a couple of times, on a certain point he splits some of his army more properly, and he won't take that much damage, he won't lose his third base, and at a certain point you just get Immortals everywhere, and then Roaches are not going to cut it anymore, and then it's one Protoss attack across the map and win. Because that game was literally HyuN attack, 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 and it was working, but if one time it wouldn't have worked, and HuK would just stabilize, then it's HuK march across the map and win. Because HyuN had no tag whatsoever, so again, I feel that game number 1, very crucial, and there is like a tipping point, and then at a certain moment it just tips in favor of HyuN, and from that point on it feels like everything went his way.
Yeah, it really felt like there were just a couple of opportunities. If that Overlord just goes barely a bit more to the right and doesn't see the Dark Shrine, if the Zergling just goes around the other side, doesn't see that pylon before it finishes, there's so many different tiny little things that could have completely changed the course of each one of the games in that series. But that's why HyuN's number 1. That's why he's a top tier player, and that's why we're looking forward to see him go up against Hart, who will be a very difficult opponent for him to face in the semifinals.
We are looking at amazing semifinals tomorrow, though. Hart versus HyuN, that is a series you really don't want to miss. There's so much on the line. So I can't wait to talk about it tomorrow. Of course, we shouldn't go to get too far ahead of ourselves. Anyways, for now, I am very curious to see how HyuN feels after that quarterfinal, and I know that he's sitting with our field reporter, Cameron. So, Cameron, take it away.
Thank you, Roddy. Camdozer here with HyuN, who just 3-0'd HuK in very decisive fashion. Now, HyuN, HuK has never even taken a map off of you in a tournament, and it just seemed as though you were always one step ahead of him. On map 1, knowing not to overreact to the pylon in your natural. On map 2, knowing that, no, this time it's for real. He's cannon rushing me. What is it about HuK's play that you always seem to be so able to take advantage of?
고승현 선수 8강 뚫고 이제 4강 준결승 올라가신 거 축하드리고요. 그리고 일단 경기적인 부분을 다 떠나서 밀경기는 뭐 캐논러시가 이제 이게 구라구나 맞고 잘 맞고 그다음 바퀴로 가고 두 번째 것도 캐논러시 잘 맞고 이러면서 경기를 쉽게 풀어 나가셨는데 도대체 왜 크리스 선수, 헉 선수만 만나면은 헉 선수가 고승현 선수한테 맥을 못 추스릴까요?
모르겠어요. 헉 선수, 크리스랑 항상 하면은 좀 저한테 운이 따라주는 것 같아요, 많이. 첫 경기 같은 경우도 크리스가 준비를 잘해온 것 같은데 제가 오버로드로 또 운 좋게 그 암흑성소를 봐가지고 원래 게임 끝나는 거였는데 그런 좀 운이 따라줘가지고 이기는 게 아닌가 계속.
Honestly, I have no idea why when I go up against HuK, I always win. I think some of it is probably luck because with the Overlord search in the first map, I was able to identify what he was trying to do with Dark Shrine, and from that moment on, it was pretty much my game to lose. So that having said, I just want to add one more question about the game 1. 자, 고승현 선수 첫 경기에 확실하게 별명 로치킹의답게 바퀴 성애자, 내가 바퀴 성애자다라는 거 확실하게 보여주셨는데 그거에 대해서 어떻게 왜 그렇게 하셨는지 한번 말씀 들어볼게요. So what I'm asking is, know that his nickname is Roach King, and the Roach King, as the Roach King, it seemed like in the game 1 he was trying to teach HuK the Roach anatomy of Roach. So I just want to know what his thoughts on that.
보여주려고 한 게 아니고 그렇게 준비를 했어요. 왜냐면은 크리스가 기본적으로 좀 전멸을 시작하면서 불멸자까지 그러면서 조합하는 그런 스타일을 항상 해가지고 바퀴로 한번 흔들어 보자. 카탈리나 같은 경우는 좀 막기가 힘들다고 생각을 해서 그렇게 했어요.
I wasn't trying to teach him any anatomies or anything. It was just that's how I prepped Catalina. Because in Catalina, a lot of times what HuK likes to do is he likes to open up with Blink, transition into Immortals, very standard. And the map of the Catalina is that it's got so many openings that if I start harassing back and forth with the main and the third expansion and everything with Roaches, I thought it was going to be an easy game, and that's how luckily it went through.
Well, it was a very impressive performance, to say the least. Your use of the Burrow micro on them especially was impressive to me. Now, let's talk about BlizzCon. Your first place right now in WCS points. It's possible for you to not finish this tournament, though, in first place. How important is it to you to have that highest seed going into the biggest tournament of the year?
사실 지금 고석현 선수 블리즈콘 WCS 랭킹으로만 봤을 땐 1위신데 이번 시즌 결과에 따라서 어쩌면은 1위 자리를 놓치실 수도 있게 될지도 모르니까 이제 뭐 그런 거에 대해서 블리즈콘을 1등으로 참가하는 거에 어떤 의미가 있는지 말씀 좀 해주세요.
이번에 제가 우승을 못하고 폴트 선수나 바머 선수가 우승을 하면 1등을 뺏기는 걸로 알고 있는데 저는 개인적인 바람으로는 1위를 계속 수성을 해서 블리즈컨까지 가는 게 목표고, 왜냐하면은 좀 대진을 봤는데 좀 쉬운 편이더라고. 1등을 하게 되면 윈라인으로 가는데 그게 쉬울 것 같아요.
First of all, I've been working really hard to maintain this position, and what I'm understanding is that if I don't win this season, and if Bomber and Polt does, I think they are the ones that are taking my #1 seed at BlizzCon. I've put in tremendous amount of work over the entire season, all year long. I want to make sure that I go to BlizzCon in the fashion that I have maintained over the season. And also, I've looked at the potential current standings and who I would be matching up against. And it seems like it'd be an easier match if I stay on top. So, I think that's enough said at that point.
Well, currently, if BlizzCon started today, you'd be up against Jaedong. Are you saying Jaedong would be an easy match?
이재동 선수랑 친분도 있는 걸로 알고 있는데 당장 오늘부터 이제 블리즈콘을 시작을 한다. 그렇다면 이재동 선수를 안다는데 이재동 선수랑 저저전에 자신이 있다는 말씀이신가요?
제동이도 저그전에 잘하지만 저도 자신이 있기 때문에 자신 있고, 만약에 제가 우승을 하면 제동이가 블리즈컨이 확정이 되는 걸로 알고 있어요. 근데 또 친하기도 하지만 또 제가 살려주고 다시 또 16강에서 저를 또 죽일 수가 있잖아요. 또 좀 운명이 좀 얄궂은 것 같아요.
I know Jaedong has a very strong ZVZ, and that's why his versus Zerg is called JVZ. I understand that, but my versus Zerg is also pretty good, I dare say. So that being said, and to begin with, Jaedong and I are really close. We've been really close for a long time, and if I win it, that means he'd be advancing to BlizzCon. So I want to give him that hope to have him sent to BlizzCon, and I know that if I do that, it will be my hands that Jaedong will be either eliminated, or my hands that's potentially putting me into spot to be eliminated. So it's the fate, that's what it is, but at least I want to give him a try.
That's very generous of you. Now, the last question I want to ask is, before BlizzCon, Hart now stands in your way here in WCS America. He looked very dominant against the Zerg Scarlet that he played earlier. What are your thoughts about that matchup tomorrow?
자비로우신 고석현 선수. 스칼렛 선수랑 이제 김미현 선수랑 경기를 했었을 때 김미현 선수가 뭐 사실 딱히 빌드 보여준 것도 없고 그냥 너무 일방적으로 압도를 했는데 이제 그 다음 상대가 김미현 선수인 만큼 뭐 어떤 식으로 흘러갈 것 같다 예측을 뭐 딱히 하신다든지 뭐 이런 멘탈로 준비를 해야겠다 준비를 하신 게 있으신지요?
걱정인 게 요즘에 저그 테란이 저는 밸런스가 붕괴가 됐다고 생각을 해가지고 DK한테 개인적으로 좀 감사해하고 있어요.
Wow.
Oh boy, what's this gonna be?
No, I just took it wrong because this is how he said it. Personally, I find with the current meta and the pool and the entire thing, I think the TVZ, the balance is a little bit off. And then I threw in after beating Teja, and he's like, no, hold up. I think I want to personally thank DK for all his hard works with the grin.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time. Wish you the best of luck tomorrow. Let's go ahead and check back in with our casters over at the desk to hear their final thoughts on this dominant performance from HyuN. Gentlemen?
HyuN just smiley as always. That's pretty much my final thought, Nate. I think we went pretty much over it. I think game number 1 is really such a crucial moment. If HuK stabilizes, if he handles it a little better, if he maybe picks up a map victory in game number 1, then I do believe that we are looking at a different series. But after that, it just was HyuN all the way, and nothing really went HuK's way.
Yeah, I mean, HyuN has taken out players that we look at and we say, oh, maybe they could win this match. But when you have HyuN favored over someone, overcoming that is a really big thing to ask of them. And I don't think you can be too upset with HuK's performance because you're just up against somebody that's so good, that's had such a big run in StarCraft 2 this year and last year. I'm looking forward to see HyuN go up against Hart in the semifinals.
Yeah, I think that's going to be an amazing semifinals. I'm already hyped for that one tomorrow, but of course we have 2 more amazing quarterfinals to go, and I say amazing because, well, this guy over here, even though with or without beard, he's still a Terran player, and of course I will always have a Protoss heart, so we are looking at 2 PVTs, and they're both going to be, I think, awesome. It's a rematch of the last season's final between Pick Baby and Bomber. That's going to be next. But before we focus on that series, let's throw it over to Clutch, who is once more standing with one of our amazing supporters of WCS America.